let's see. We can do a little bit of a, I would say, a deep dive. I think we've mentioned this a couple of times in previous shows, but um, when Google announced Flock for the first time, it was kind of a federated learning of cohorts, and we talked about how a cohort is just a group of people with some set of characteristics, and if you add enough characteristics, you get down to basically a cohort of one, which is individual targeting. So even though people will say that we can't individually target somebody, yeah, you can. You probably, it's like wordplay, right? Like, yeah, I can't target Brent Leary with an ad, but I can target, um, you know, diehard Rams fans that spend probably an insane amount of money on Fanatics or something like that, right? In a certain location, and
Yeah,
also
that
spends a
you'll
lot of
get me
money
right
on
away on that one.
Amazon.com. Yeah,
Yes, you'll get me.
with
Yes.
with 30 plus Alexa devices, I think it narrows it down quite a bit. And so he would be in that cohort. And so there was a couple stories I think we briefly mentioned last week, and we got the stories up this time. But this one guy, I think it's a guy, whatever, this person, pranking his roommates with targeted Facebook ads. And more of a funny story, but basically, him and his roommate got into, I think, a little bit of a spat. And what the way Facebook works, and a lot of people don't realize this, is especially if you haven't run digital ads before, they have this option for uploading a list of like your customers, right? So if I'm a small business and I run like a coffee shop and I get people's emails addresses, I can upload them as a list of emails and all the associated Facebook accounts. And so if I want to market to my existing customer base, I easily can. Um, I will definitely, maybe next week, I'll go through. There's a way to navigate your Facebook settings, and you can basically see how many lists you're a part of. And it's a very scary practice if you have Facebook and you haven't turned this feature off, and you have to manually, like one by one, and go and unsubscribe from them. But you'll see all sorts of companies that you recognize, and I would say what's even scarier is companies you don't recognize that have uploaded your email address because they've got it from one way, got it one way or another. And then once that email address list is uploaded, targeting can happen. So what this fella here does is basically uploads a list of email addresses and then targets a subset of those quote customers or emails that he uploaded, and goes down the rabbit hole here. So this is what do you call it? A sword swallower, basically. And so while he didn't broadcast it publicly, it was a source of great amusement to those to him that knew it. What do you call it? The idea was to sell a fake product that helped people take pills without gagging and have it speak only to Swartzallers, which is quite the cohort of a few, I would imagine. And so he does some trickery, uploads this list, targets a certain subset based on some interest and the customer list, and bada bing, bada boom, he's able to target this person. The second story we have is a little bit of a deeper one, where this LinkedIn hack person says he makes 120 grand on LinkedIn, and basically what they do, or what he did was, what do you call? Let's see, he was running a startup when he came across an article on TechCrunch that changed everything. Incubator in San Francisco was giving 120,000 to anyone accepted into the program. What do you call? Kept one spot open for entrepreneurs reading this post, and so this person basically creates ads on LinkedIn, and it cost him a cent. When you went through it, a penny to target based on the characteristics of like the person who wrote the article and who's in charge and their title and the company and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's one, crazy that you can target a single person, and two, how cheap it is to target people. I would think you'd probably charge a little bit more, but clearly not. But yeah, I mean, obviously targeting is very real, and very micro targeting is very possible. Even if people tell you that they can't target individual users, it definitely can happen, as long as you know the person well enough. But what do you
Just
guys
go back
think?
to that top number there.
Mhm.
$120,000, and how much did it cost him to get started with that? A cent.
Yeah, that targeting individual, I think we discussed this in our last show.
Yeah.
Okay, the cohort of one is possible.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're using services that require you to log in. So LinkedIn and Facebook in this case, you can upload an email address. I can upload, if I want to target, say, a particular person, let's say Brent, I'll add his email address along with 10 other email addresses that are fake. And that way, to meet that minimum requirement, and then make it work. And remember, you can always say, maybe ABC +1, +2, +3, and whatnot. Not sure if Facebook takes it, but there are ways to trick the system. And so the fact that you can even use a email address and a phone number to target an individual, that tells you, you can really target the individuals out there. Same thing with LinkedIn. I think they have a minimum requirement of 7 people. Like if you want to target, in this case, I think he's targeted the CEO of a particular company. Maybe they won't allow it, but he also targeted other CEOs. You can add other CEOs out there. You don't expect an Amazon CEO or a Microsoft or maybe Google CEO or Apple CEO to look at that ads, and that way you kind of use others to filter or to get to that number, but you can get to your target market. I think the doing it using services that require a login is frankly not surprising. But doing it with companies like Google, targeting without that don't require a login, is also possible, and that is where that can be done through fingerprinting. Maybe we should do a deep dive one of these days on fingerprinting.
Yeah.
How many people use a certain browser on a certain device, who have certain set of extensions installed on their browser from a particular location with a certain screen resolution and window size being a certain thing, and have a certain set of drivers installed on your computer, right? Well, you'll slowly, once you put in enough filters out there, you'll get to that cohort of one without even mentioning the email addresses or phone numbers like that. That cohort of one is certainly, that targeting is possible today, particularly location and whatnot. Even though if you're not logged in, that's possible totally today.
Going back to, did we talk about last week how the one guy targeted the Reddit CEO and he did get a response? I mean, there are a lot of very smart, intelligent folks out there, and it's almost like I feel like I'm getting like Raju. None of this stuff has started to surprise me. At first, it was like all like, really? Wow. And every time I would say, really? Wow. Raju's response, well, yes, this has been going on. This is not a surprise. It's getting to that point because, cohorts of one, when you think about it, like you're talking about, Tejas, with Facebook, if you've got just a piece of information, you can upload it and they do the search to try to find people that are matching, that kind of criteria. And just to think about all the people, I mean, they got over almost like 2 or 3 billion active daily users. So there's a certain percentage of those people every day. There's people doing this, and just think about, we talk about the 3,000 data points that Axiom has. Can you imagine what Facebook has? I mean, when you think about Axiom has, X amount of people using their system. Facebook has 3 billion, across their family of products every day. A percentage of those folks are uploading, trying to find, people to sell to that match the other people that they've already sold to. So the database that, we're probably have to think about, the scale of this meta thing, which they want to do, because it's, the amount of data that they get, and it's not just one and done. It's constantly refreshed and flowing for people who don't even know that don't want to be in a Facebook account. They don't have their own Facebook account, but if somebody they know puts them in one of these, look for people like this, and they upload, you can't even stop it. And to me, that's the biggest problem and the challenge of, what if you're somebody who absolutely detests, Raju doesn't want to be in any of this stuff, but anybody who has Raju's email address who says, I want to get more people like, that I'm already associated with, and they just so happen to have his email address and just throw it up there, he's in.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen that with Clubhouse, where if you start using Clubhouse, they want your contact list, right? And I actually, deleted the Clubhouse because I do not want to upload my friends and family's personal information to Clubhouse just to get access to a free application. And well, there are a lot of people that basically don't think or unaware of this. They simply upload that, provide access, and all the data is streamed into that, and that provides all the information about people who don't even have an account with Facebook, and they create that, I guess, the metadata of all people who are not even on the system.
Metadata. I feel like that's a better name for these fellows. So,
I seriously thought they were going to call themselves MetaBook or something like that before they came out with.
I thought it was a joke in the first place, but
I mean, it still is. I don't know. I don't know why it's past tense with you, Raju, but it's still present for me.
yeah. Anyway, that's a different topic altogether. Generally in that context, when to walk off the casino floor is a good skill to learn, to know. And I thought Larry Page and
Sergey
Jeff
Brin.
Bezos, Brin and Jeff Bezos knew when to walk off the casino floor, and because they probably saw all the lawsuits piling up, and they said it's probably time to hang up. So I suspect that's what's going on here. In this case, I don't think it probably is a little late, but I see this as an early move where in the coming years, I won't be surprised if Zuck promotes himself to Meta and eventually becomes the chairman and let other people worry about these lawsuits. At some point, it gets you. In the other two cases, Google and Amazon, they predicted it. In this case, it's after. I think it's happening a little late. But I see this move as a similar move that Google made with Alphabet.
But I feel like the Alphabet name change was, I mean, I don't think they were nearly as bad of a PR crisis as Facebook was. It was kind of like spinning off maybe like their weird moonshot ideas and maybe separating it, not like well justified. But Facebook is, I mean, it's a pure play trying to, fix this PR nightmare that they have. And so I think it's just kind of a scramble. And I mean, the video that they put out, we can go into that one, but that was quite the show. It was actually really hard because I read the article, I think on The Verge, and they embedded like the link to like Mark Zuckerberg's keynote. So I went to click on it, and it opens up on like Facebook.com and has like the login banner and stuff on the top. And then you start playing it, and it's like, all right, cool. First of all, the player sucks. Second of all, you can't even like when you start like skipping through it to like find different sections. Once I skipped through maybe like a third or halfway through, it was like log in to watch the video. And it's like, hold on. Like, first of all, this video should not be like behind a login requirement for your own company that you want to make publicly as a keynote that's like publicly available. And at that point, it was just not worth it whatsoever, obviously, to dig through. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the name just seems arguably to try to curtail like public opinion, really. Not really.
Yeah, I mean, there are in the case of Google, I think the reasoning is probably different. And after you get to a certain level, these guys start to think about legacy. Or do you want your legacy to be written as the pioneers of ad company? How many CEOs want to be known as the pioneers of the smoking companies out there, or whatever, the cigarette companies out there, right? Well, just the same way, you get associated with that. So you try to do whatever is in your power to just disassociate yourself into that, and then you create a meta organization and try to go down that path. And that's what Google has done. And in this case, Facebook is going down that path, but just the difference is every single product is an ad company. So I don't think it helps the cause, but this at least allows him to just move to beta and let someone else worry about these lawsuits.
Wow. The fact that do they really think that by changing their name that makes a difference? I mean,
you're going to change the world, bro.
I don't get
it. You just don't know.
Yeah, you change the world. Is right. We're going to the metaverse, and no, I mean, to me, it's like I don't know. This doesn't do anything but bring more negative attention. When you thought how could they bring more negative attention? I don't know. Their business model is still selling ads.
Yeah,
That
there was
hasn't
a.
changed a bit.
It just popped in my head. I wish I had the screen cap before it, but there was a funny tweet for a while. I forgot what started it, but on Twitter there was like a kind of like a phase, might still be going on, where like you'll say some like full statement and then they put a bunch of like red flags after it as just like this obviously is like not true. And there was like a screen cap of Zuck from the video, and it says we're building the metaverse with privacy and security at its core or something like that. And it was just like I don't even know how you can have the balls to like say that with like a straight face, I guess, in his robotic face, but that's probably how. But basically, I mean, you can't security. I'll give it to you, but privacy. I mean, come on, like, I don't know who you're trying to fool with that one.
It's got to be honest about it. I mean, look, yeah, we want to do business, and we want to create products and services for people to use. And the reason why we want to do that is because we can, leverage your attention and your data into, at least be upfront and don't try to front. I mean, and some people will be fine with that. Some people won't, but at least you're telling it like it is.
Brent, you're expecting Facebook to be upfront.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you're not upfront about something because I wouldn't say ashamed, but like you're not proud of your business model is the only way you're not truthful about why or how you do things, right? I mean, at a baseline, the only reason anybody's ever shady about something is because you yourself know that this isn't the most right, wholesome, moral thing to do. And that's why you do this rigmarole dance in terms of, oh, we're connecting the world or whatever. Just say what it is. You want to connect the world, there's a cost to it. How do we make money? We got to serve some ads. And so we take a little bit of your data and we make some ads for you. Bada bing, bada boom. Just, simple, to the point. I don't know. I think when you try to like treat people like they're dumb or something like that, it tends to backfire as it is with these guys, right?
It's the condescension that really, you really expect me to believe that. That's the that's what really gets me. And yet, and still, I use Facebook, but I know what I'm getting into.
Isn't this being streamed on Facebook?
Yeah, it's being streamed on Facebook. So, I mean, all of that being said, it's like, I still think if you know what you're getting into ahead of time, and you should know what you're getting to ahead of time. Don't worry, you shouldn't have a lot of outrage, if certain things happen. Mm-hmm. I don't put everything out on Facebook, but then as we just talked about, if anybody knows me, has certain pieces of information, I'm probably in Facebook like 1,000 times over in ways I don't even know, but I'm okay with it because the stuff that I do put out, I know I'm putting it out. I'm okay with that. There's not a whole lot of stuff that, that's just me. I'm an older dude. I mean, I'm not a kid who doesn't think about this.
Come on, bro. You're not an older guy.
Tejas, I have to break it to you, man. I've got an AARP card. All right. But I'm just saying, teenagers don't think like adults. And some adults don't think like adults when it comes to this stuff, too. And I think that's the main issue is that these companies are willing to take advantage of that and not, have, like you were saying, Tejas, kind of the upward, our principles are privacy and let's be honest about it. Your principles are maybe that, but it's also about getting paid and making money.
Yeah.
And if your business is ads, or if your business is return on attention, which is really the heart of a lot of this stuff, is we need to create ways to get people's attention, and then we can convert that attention into ads or revenue, or I should say into revenue. And one of the easiest ways for them to do that is through ads. All right, be honest about it and say, we try to do privacy, but in the context of what's still a business and an ad business, then at least you can feel good about certain things. But a lot of these companies, and I'm not going to name specifics, but a lot of these companies, they know that there's some addictive tendencies and personalities, and that they make a lot of their money off of that. That's where it gets, they've crossed the line when it comes to that kind of stuff, I think.
In a lot of, the reason we are in this issue or in this situation is there is a misalignment between principles and business models. And,
right.
If
Yeah.
there is an alignment there, things will fall in place. But there is no alignment at this point for a lot of companies, and that's the reason we run into these issues.